Hi, I'm Herman Fusilier. Welcome to another edition of Bayou Boogie here on KDZG PAX 22 TV. On today's program, we're going to talk about Zydeco dancing with Michael Cedar. Welcome back to Bayou Boogie again. It's our pleasure to have Michael Cedar with us on today's program. He's a world-renowned dance instructor with Cajun and Zydeco dances. Is it safe to say world, Michael? You've done this all over the world.
I have.
Okay.
Yeah, I have been in England and I've taught in Ramsdongsphere in. I'm trying to remember where Ramsdong in the Netherlands.
Netherlands.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
So,
I've heard of that festival. And Michael has the forthcoming CD. I keep saying CD, but it's actually a video, a dance instruction video about Zydeco dancing. Michael, tell us a little bit about that.
well, the upcoming video is actually going to be sort of a Cajun dance, which is becoming prominent now. It's kind of the rage. I call it the Whiskey River Jitterbug, but
Okay.
like a lot of Louisiana dances, there's no official name. It's
Right.
people get up and dance.
Right.
But if you're going to make a video, probably need to have a name. So I'm calling it the Whiskey River Jitterbug. Some people call it the Lake Charles Slide. I've heard it called the Lake Charles Shuffle.
Okay.
But it's an actual dance, and you can see it danced, I think, in East Texas, over in Lake Charles. You can find it danced in Lafayette around here at Cowboys on Ambassador Caffrey. And of course, you can see it at Whiskey River Landing Sundays when there's a Cajun band there.
Okay.
And some of the dancers, when Gino Delafos plays, like to do the Whiskey River Jitterbug.
Yeah.
And it's a new little style that's, instead of going in and out the way you do in an East Coast swing jitterbug, it's kind of side to side, and I like to say that it's got attitude, hips, and fancy footwork.
Okay.
And it may resemble a little bit as a jitterbug that's done in around the Baton Rouge area.
Okay. And it's really kind of eye-catchy. When people see it, they like it, and they want to learn how to do it.
They do, and the other dancers who can't quite do it, I've noticed in different places, they're trying to pick up the look and figure out how to do it.
Okay.
So I think it's an up-and-coming thing. And I think maybe it has been influenced somewhat by Zydeco in that there are little freeze moves in it, fancy footwork, and hips. And so I think maybe, some of the dancers watching Zydeco dancing and the direction it's taken, because Zydeco is a hot dance.
Right.
With all kinds of moves and, influence, I think, probably from Latin dancing and hip-hop and that sort of thing. I think they kind of picked up on that and ran with it. And
Okay.
they're doing it to Cajun music.
Okay. So the forthcoming video will cover just the Whiskey River Jitterbug.
That's right.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. Now this is actually your second dance video.
Right.
Tell us about the first one.
Well, the first dance video was called Zydeco Dance Primer.
Okay.
And it was actually, I'm a reluctant teacher and a reluctant video maker.
Okay.
But it came about because I'd started to teach dancing at a couple of the big festivals and dance camps around the country. And when I would teach, people would say, well, you showed us so much, we wish that there was a way for us to take it back with us. You ought to make a video. So essentially, out of that experience, I made one and then decided to go back and do a better job. I made the second one. That's the Zydeco Dance Primer.
Okay.
And basically, it starts with the basics of Zydeco and works up through intermediate steps and then some more advanced stuff. And I have there's a lot of dance footage on it too, so people can get an idea of the look and styling of the dance.
Okay. And you have two partners on
I
that
do.
video you
Yeah.
dance with?
I danced with Pam Ardwan, who's related to the Ardwans, and
Okay.
in Boisek and Sean and Chris's family, extended family. Her brother's actually Dexter Ardwan.
Yeah. Okay.
And my other partner, Annie Simonson, I used to dance with in New Orleans.
Okay.
So, yeah, when I first, I actually learned to dance here in Louisiana. I was living in Florida,
Okay.
and I met some people who were interested in Cajun and Zydeco music, both at the same time. And we used to come here and stop in New Orleans first, then head over to the country, get in as much dancing as we could, go to a couple of Cajun places, go to a Zydeco club, a trail ride or whatever. And so I picked up the dancing that way.
Okay. All right.
And that's how my interest kind of developed.
Very good. We mentioned the people you work with on your first video. Who helped you out on the new video that's coming?
Well, a number of people.
Okay.
There are actually, I invited 6 local dancers who are really great exponents of this dance, and I have a feeling they're making up a lot of the steps.
Okay.
Which is the other cool thing about Louisiana dancing. I like to say that there's no Arthur Moreau school
Right.
of Louisiana barroom dancing.
Right.
And these folks are creative dancers. They're athletic, and they got a good sense of timing, good sense of style.
Yeah.
So I invited them to come on and dance in the video.
Okay.
Now, if I try to remember all 6 of their names, I'm going to blank out on one of them.
Well,
but,
just mention a few that kind of.
well, okay, Nakia Burrell is a woman I did a lot of the instructional part of the video with.
Okay.
And then Jamie Bergeron provided the music,
Mm-hmm.
and his girlfriend, Rochelle, is another partner of mine in the video.
Right.
And I'm trying to remember, Percy is one of the big male dancers, and Brad Petrie. Now, I'm trying to remember Percy's last name, and I can't.
But they're all good dancers.
They're
as you mentioned.
great dancers.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. Michael, just what as you mentioned, and we'll get into some more of the places you've taught before, and we already covered some of the videos, but what advice do you give people as far as, well, we can start with the Cajun dancing, because I know a lot of people will start with Cajun dancing. Some, especially in this area, come by it naturally, but people get into it, they'll start with Cajun dancing, sort of graduate, so to speak, to Zydeco. But what tips do you give beginners, so to speak?
Well, I think there's a good underlying style of Louisiana dancing, whether it's Cajun dancers or Zydeco dancers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what I try to instill in people. But, I've sort of backed away from trying to get them to do things a certain way and think too much about how they look.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of try to teach in a relaxed manner. Basically, though, what I think about the look is both forms of dancing have a lot of footwork and not a lot of bopping around with the upper body.
Yeah.
So I kind of tell people it's a relaxed dance. Keep your feet flat on the floor,
Mm-hmm.
knees bent, always balanced,
Mm-hmm.
and not a lot of upper body movement. Like Sean Ardwan says, don't flop around like a chicken or a fish.
Right.
So a fish out of water.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the advice I give.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is with Louisiana dancing, move your feet.
Mm-hmm.
Keith Frank says, move your feet.
Right.
And once you get your feet moving right, if you're relaxed and balanced, your upper body,
Mm-hmm.
it's a piece of cake.
Wow, okay, well, it sounds like some good advice. Now here, some people say sometimes, too, that say start with Cajun dancing and go to Zydeco. They find the Zydeco harder than the Cajun dancing. Just talk about that a little bit.
Well, see, I did start dancing both at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I probably used to get them confused a little bit.
Okay.
But I don't know that one is harder than the other. Zydeco is harder for people because Zydeco has what I call a lot of freestyling in it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So now old style Zydeco, well, I'm not that old, but when I started dancing, there was a different look to Zydeco dancing.
Yeah.
When I first saw Zydeco dancing, there was not a lot of freestyling. The partners stayed pretty much a closed position, and so they didn't get apart and do all kinds of things independently. Now the men, in my remembrance, did some like stomping, kind of fancy footwork in their step, and actually would play off against one another. Like I'll do something, you try to do something, I'll try to do what you did, or I'll try to outdo what you did.
Right.
But so I think for dancers, particularly when they just get into it, they're a little intimidated by the freestyling.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, so when I get here, now what do I do?
Yeah.
Whereas with the Cajun dancing, now the kind of Cajun dancing that I like to do is more jitterbug.
Mm-hmm.
It's not all the twisty arm stuff
Yeah.
and the limping leg. It's really kind of a swing, you might say swing jitterbug. It looks like a swing jitterbug. I don't know if people know what I'm talking about, but the moves are led by the man, so you lead underarm turns. That's the difference with the Whiskey River Jitterbug. The Whiskey River Jitterbug has a lot of freestyling, but you pretty much do it holding your partner's hand most of the time. But So I think that's what intimidates people about Zydeco, is the freestyle. And you know, good dancers, good local dancers, if they reel the woman out and she looks like she doesn't know what to do, they'll reel her back in and take her out of her misery. They're not going to leave her out there, and they'll lead her more through the dance.
Michael Cedar, our guest on today's Bayou Boogie, has got the forthcoming video on the Whiskey River Jitterbug. We'll see just a minute or so of the video right here and continue our conversation with Michael Cedar right after these messages. Welcome back to Bayou Boogie. Again, Michael Cedar is our guest on today's program. Be on the lookout for that forthcoming video, Allons Danser, Whiskey River Jitterbug. I get the title out, and we're talking about it today and some of Michael's dance experiences. And Michael, I have to ask you the question, is the white guy with the name of Cedar teaching Zydeco dancing? How'd that come about?
Cajun and Creole cultures have assimilated lots of people.
Very much so.
A German name, I guess, is all right, although this German name, I don't think you see a whole lot around here. I haven't seen a lot around the country either. You know, like I said, good dancing is good dancing.
Yeah.
I don't think that a person can't learn to dance either style, whether they're white or black.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, part of my appeal as a teacher is somewhat that I'm a good dancer, but I hate to admit it, sometimes it drives me crazy, but I'm very analytical.
Okay.
So I've been able to look at things and learn things, and then I can break them down. And I have a teaching style where I can understand how people come at the dance. Some people understand dancing by counting it out.
Right.
Some people understand dancing better by just looking at it. If you start counting, they kind of lose themselves in the counting.
Yeah.
When I go to Huntsville, Alabama to teach, there are all those engineers up there, they're all taking notes. Of course, they're not dancing while they're taking notes, so that doesn't really work.
Yeah.
But, you know, some people want to have a visual representation. So I can do all those things. Right. And on top of that, I look pretty good when I dance. And so I think that's what makes my teaching, you know, desirable, I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But, you know, I do, when I teach out of the state, which is most often, although I haven't been teaching regularly in Lafayette for a while, what I try to do is I try to bring like a Creole partner with me.
Yeah.
And what that does for me is it keeps me grounded in the look I want. Because when you go to, say, Seattle, where there is a whole bunch of Lindy Hop dancing, or you go to Washington, D.C. area where people are into swing, the people who dance there tend to have either a Lindy style or a swing style or some other kind of style. So if I can bring somebody from here with me, we can show the right look, and I stay more centered with the look that I want.
Right. Yeah.
So now, people aren't always willing to pay all the money to bring, but I always push for that if I can.
Right, that's very good. Now, I've seen you in action with your Creole partners and other people, and you do a tremendous job. And I'd just like for you to talk about a minute. I think I run into a lot of people here, you know, still in the mindset, you know, Zydeco is local, and it's not like top 40 radio, but I think a lot of people would be surprised just the response the music has away from here, and particularly the dancing. People might like the music, but when they see the dance and they say, I want to learn that, I got to be a part of that, and you've, I'm sure, experienced that all over the country.
Oh yeah, and all over the world. In the big major metropolitan areas of the United States, you very often find dance groups.
Right.
And they are interested in, well, many of them are interested in Cajun Zydeco music, and you know, older la-la music, older French music. But usually it's combined with an interest in the dance. So if you go to New York City, you go to Washington, D.C., You go to Seattle, you go to San Francisco, Los Angeles, you're going to find
Birmingham.
Atlanta, Birmingham, exactly. You know, and in some smaller areas, Connecticut, Massachusetts, West Virginia, Florida, you find dance groups. And generally that's how I end up teaching somewhere. It's somebody has seen me or heard about me, and they organize an event for the dance group. And so, yeah, Zydeco and Cajun music is popular, but it's popular in the context of the dance. And people really want to learn the dance, and they really want to either come to Louisiana and see the dancing here and dance here, or they want people from Louisiana to come and show them how to do it. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, we get tons of people coming into festivals. And I also, you know I'm not a native, but I do think that I'm doing something to promote the music and the dance that I love to do. And I'm hoping that somehow the musicians are going to benefit from the fact that, you know, people in Seattle want to buy their CDs and want to come down here and spend money in our clubs and our festivals.
Because I'm close friends with the people in Birmingham, David and Doggett and all those people. And they bring in the Cajun and Zydeco bands at least once, twice a month, and have dance classes and sometimes guest instructors like you and other people. So it's really doing a lot for Louisiana, as you mentioned. Talk a little bit about the Zydeco cruise. I was able to go a year before last, and you were an instructor there, and I think this will be the 6 years that is coming up. Have you been on every?
I haven't been. I did the original Zydeco cruise, and then I was off for a couple of years, and then I think Barbara and I have been back the last 2 years. This will be our third one in a row. Barbara Davis, my Lafayette dance partner.
Okay. And just to describe that scene, I'd never been on the cruise before, and I said, well, I'm going to get bored with this, but I mean, after 7 days, I was ready. I didn't want to get off the boat. It was really a good time.
Yeah, it's hard to get bored on the Zydeco cruise because when you're sailing, you're dancing or you're taking classes, and when the boat docks, then you're off, you know, tromping through whatever little country we're in, doing, you know, swimming, snorkeling, laying around the beach, or spending your money at the shops. So, I mean, the Zydeco cruise is a great experience. I had never thought I would go on a cruise either, but I'm glad I have. So it's a great way to get into the Caribbean, see some different countries, lay around, work on your suntan, and also hear some great bands. This year, now I hope I get this right, this year it's Gino Delafos back again. He's been on every one of the original Zydeco cruises. And this year I think it's Chris Ardwan is the other band, which is another one of my favorite bands.
Oh yeah, that's an excellent lineup, and they always have great musicians.
And a bunch of instructors. I think I'm not going to say who's back this year, but instructors from Texas and Louisiana. So real authentic dancing, you know, by people who are learning to do it here and are experts at it, and good teachers too.
You talked earlier about just the assimilation of the music and the dancing moving out of here, but the music drew you in, and it's drawing a lot of other people into Louisiana. I don't know if some natives here realize that.
Yeah, I moved to the Gulf Coast area to Florida, and at that time I actually tried to do folk dancing. But folk dance, international folk dancing, is such an artificial thing in that you're dancing from to music from 10 different countries, and you're going through the steps every night before the dance. So when I found this scene over here, and it was like, man, this is cool. This is a social event. People get dressed up on Saturday, Friday, Sunday afternoon. They go out to a place, and their local bands play, and they dance. And they do it around weddings and funerals and every holiday. So I was really taken by that. And also, the music is great, too. You know, I was one of those people, like a lot of people, when you hear this music and then you start to dance to it, it's like you get hooked, and then you can't stop. And you want. I have gotten it somewhat under control. I'm not a danceaholic anymore, but, you know, and now that I live in Brobridge, I get to dance, you know, at least 2 times a weekend, and sometimes more, and maybe once during the week. So, yeah, I've been drawn by the music, and I think it's a great part of this culture, and it's a great way for people to socialize. You know, that's a big part of the attraction around the country, is that it's not a meat market scene, which you get in a lot of big cities, and it's a nice social way to mix with people, dance with a lot of different people, and have a great time to great music.
I couldn't have said it better. Michael Cedar, Zydeco and Cajun dance instructor, our guest here on Bayou Boogie. He's got a forthcoming video, Allons Danser, the Whiskey River Jitterbug. Here's another clip from it, and we'll continue our conversation with him right after these messages. Welcome back to Bayou Boogie. Michael Cedar has been our guest on today's program, a Cajun and Zydeco dance instructor. The forthcoming video by Michael Cedar about the Whiskey River Jitterbug. Michael, how can people get in touch with you?
Well, people can get in touch with me by emailing me at they can call me and leave me a message at if they're interested in my dance classes or private lessons or ordering one of my videos, we can arrange that.
All right, very good. Well, you heard it right here, and we saw some of the video. And Michael, just to wrap up, and you touched on this before, there's instructions, there's a way to do things, but there's no hard and fast rules. I guess the main rule is get out there and have fun. That's what it's all about.
I like to say there's nothing better than moving your body to great music with another person in your arms. And yeah, the thing is to have fun. And in my classes, what I try to do in the video, I try to create kind of a lighthearted, humorous kind of atmosphere so people relax. It's best to just relax and have a good time. Don't be too self-conscious. Nobody's really looking at you.
Right. And everybody makes mistakes. I mean,
Sure.
It's like anything, it takes practice.
And that's when you make up some of your best moves, when you made a mistake.
That's it. You heard it from one of the guys that goes around the world teaching Cajun and Zydeco dance. Michael Cedar has been our guest on today's Bayou Boogie. Remember that forthcoming video, Allons Danser, the Whiskey River Jitterbug. Look out for it, and thanks for tuning in, and hope to see you again here on Bayou Boogie, here on KDCG PAX 22 TV.